Welcome to 100 Yards of Football today. Today we got our youth segment. It's going to be concerning the top 5 wide receivers in college football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today in our youth segment is Mr. Bradley Mason Jr., 13-year-old, 8th grader out of Bear Creek Middle School out of Fairburn, Georgia. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. As Mr. Mason and myself are going to break down the top 5 college wide receivers in all of college football in 2019. Mr. Mason, how you doing today, sir?
I'm fine.
Are you a straight A student, sir?
Yes, sir.
Are you looking forward to the school year starting this year, sir?
No, sir.
That's unfortunate because you're going to have to go through school. I wish I was in the 8th grade. But let's get to talking about these top 5 wide receivers in college football. Let's start with the young man out of the Big Ten from Purdue University, Mr. Rondale Moore. When you look at Mr. Rondale Moore, what makes him special to you? Why we got him number 5 on the list?
Well, he's 5'9" and 180 pounds. While he's not the biggest guy on the field, he has good speed and quickness.
Yes, sir.
Which helped him have 114 catches for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, and also had his breakout game versus Ohio State with 12 catches for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I'm gonna say this about Rondale Moore. Let's get to the point of today's topic. The young man came in number 5 because he had 7 100-yard games. He was one of the best playmakers in his true freshman year at Purdue University. And the guy set everything on fire. And you mentioned that Ohio State game, 12 receptions, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. The man was on fire. And it was a national championship game on Saturday night. So everybody said, woo-wee. And the young man went to one of the best high schools in Louisville, Kentucky, Trinity High School. So he's a phenom there. Going forward, when you look at the Purdue wide receiver history, when this young man leaves Purdue, it looks like he's going to leave the school early after 3 years because he's going to put up numbers and break all type of wide receiving records. Think about Tyler Stabilifield that was at Purdue, John Shackelford, and Vinny Sutherland. He's going to be better than all of them. So that's why Mr. Rondale Moore came in at number 5 on our list as the top 5 college wide receivers in college football. Now let's go down to the Big 12. Ooh-wee. Jalen Hurts is going to be the new starting cornerback at the University of Oklahoma this year, but he's going to have a phenomenal toy out of Richmond, Texas. That's right. Mr. C.D. Lamb comes in at number 4 on our list. What you like about Mr. C.D. Lamb, Mr. Young Mason?
He's 6'2", 190 pounds, which is good size for a wide receiver. Last year, he had 68 catches for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns, and that's with Marquise Brown on the other side of the field, who was a first-round pick for the Baltimore Ravens. Now that he's gone, expect his workload to increase and expect better numbers.
I'm gonna tell you this: Jalen Hurts is coming into a fantastic situation because C.D. Lamb, you mentioned it was all about Hollywood Brown last year. Everybody was talking about he was the marquee receiver, but C.D. Lamb is going to be that guy. To me, he's one of the best slot receivers in the country. Might be the best slot receiver. And what I like about him is he averaged almost 18 yards a catch in his 2 years at Oklahoma. And right now, I know the NFL scouts are loving him. And then you look at the history of the Oklahoma wide receiver position. Hollywood Brown, Ryan Boyle, Sterling Shepard, all of them were small guys. You know what I mean? About your size, they were about 5'10". But C.D. Lamb, what was the size you mentioned? He was 6'2". And that guy that can really run. That's why C.D. Lamb came in at number 4 on our list. Number 3 on our list. I love this selection that we had because we voted on it. Boy, he comes out of the state of Tennessee. And you know him from the 901, Memphis, Tennessee. He comes from Oak Ridge, area code 865. My man, Mr. T. Huggins, 6'4", 205 pounds. What you like about Mr. Huggins being number 3 on our list?
Well, as you mentioned, he's 6'4", 205, which is great size. He led Clemson in receptions and touchdowns with 59 receptions and 12 touchdowns on the year.
What I like about T. Huggins, he played 550 snaps. Like you said, he led them in receiving this year, 59 receptions, 936 yards. He made the difficult catch. I mean, going up, it looked like twisting his body, jumping over people. I heard his vertical's about 36 and a half. Being 6'4", that's outstanding. But what I like about him, he's got that Randy Moss mystique. What I mean by that, he's a guy that got size and can get away from people. When you watch Clemson last year, it looked to me, every time he was catching the ball, he was either going vertical on somebody, but he was creating space. And plus, He's from a good program in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And my thing is, he comes out of one of the best programs. The head coach in New Mexico State, Doug Martin, was a former Oak Ridge, Tennessee All-American. That's what I like about T. Huggins, a former NFL prospect, coming number 2 on our list. His teammate. Boy, did he put it on Oklahoma and Notre Dame and Alabama. Justin Ross out of Phoenix City, Alabama. My question is, how in the world, I know Alabama's got a tremendous wide receiving core, but how in the world did Auburn and Alabama let this young man get out of state? Tell the people out there why Justin Ross is number 2 on our list.
Well, he's 6'4", 205 with a similar build to his teammate. This year he had 46 catches for 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. He had his coming out party during the college football playoffs with 12 catches with over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, including his big game versus Alabama, where he had 6 catches for 153 yards and a touchdown.
I'm going to say this about Justin Ross. After Notre Dame and after Alabama, now I'm looking at the Alabama secondary, and right now I did some research. I went on Walter NFL draft site, which is one of the top draft sites all through America, and I'm looking at that. They got about 4 defensive backs that they rated high to go in the NFL draft. And then I think about last year, Dante Thompson, who was a 5th overall selection with the Arizona Cardinals, was rated one of the top safeties. I'm going to tell you about Justin Ross. And then Julian Love with Notre Dame was a highly rated NFL corner. This young man in 2 games put up 12 receptions, 301 yards on both of them guys. And when I look at that, that tells me NFL ready. And when I look at Clemson, the history of the wide receiver position, Sammy Watkins came out of there, DeAndre Hopkins, Perry Toto, Jerry Butler. But when it's all said and done, this young man out of Phoenix City, a true freshman, put numbers up like that last year, he might be the best of them all. And I hate to say this, he's got, I call the GOAT of college football, the quarterback position, going to be throwing him the ball. The man with the fire, Mr. Trevor Lawrence. I said Clemson is getting ready to fly, and they finna put up some offensive numbers. And I'm going to say this. Everybody talking about Clemson was just rated number 1, and the Alabama should be number 2. Granted, Clemson lost probably one of the greatest defensive lines in college football, but I'm going to tell you, they're going to have an offense for ages. Can I say ages? So that's why my man, Mr. Justin Ross, comes in at number 2 on our list, and he comes from an area that produced great athletes. Do I have to say Tim Hudson? We know what he was in the major leagues. Do I have to say James Joseph, former Auburn great? Your daddy out in the audience, he know what I'm talking about. And can we end it with this? Justin Ross grew up in the same area, and I'm going to give it for the historians, and I'm looking in the camera. Y'all remember that guy that used to own the 100-yard record and the 100-yard dash, was an Olympic sprinter? Harvey Glantz. He comes from out of the same area. Number 1 on our list is the University of Alabama. Okay, Alabama fans, y'all finally got somebody at the top of the list on our list of all the great players in college football this year. My man out of South Florida, Jerry Jeudy. Boy, I don't know what they're doing up there in South Florida, but Alabama, the last 2 players that got out of there, Kevin Ridley and Amari Cooper, been pretty good. Jerry Jeudy comes out of Dare Beach, Florida, which is a suburb out of Miami. Tell us why he's number 1 on our list.
Well, he's 6'1", 191 pounds, which is nice size. This year, he put up 68 catches for 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns, which helped him get the Biletnikoff Award, which is the nation's top wide receiver.
I'm going to tell you this about Jerry Jeudy. Right now, there's a lot of people out there saying, I'm keeping whispers, NFL draft scouts I'm talking to, and I'm talking real low because they say he could be the number 1 player selected in the 2020 NFL draft. They say he's probably the best wide receiver prospect that came into this league. Don't let nobody get excited. Then Randy Moss when he came out of Marshall. The only thing that's separating him, he doesn't have Randy Moss' height and size. But when you look at this young man, 1,300 yards, as my man Young Bradley said. But this is what tells me, when you talk about explosive, getting away from people, taking it to the house, the guy had 23 receptions over 20 yards. And every time I looked up last season, the guy was running away from people. Great speed, excellent route runner. Probably one of the best that came in college football. And then he got Mr. They're going to be in the second year throwing the ball to him. And then he kind of showed me a little bit when Clemson had that opening interception in the national championship game, he came right back and beat double coverage like it wasn't even there, real easy. Jerry Jeudy is a very special player, and he comes out of the high school as that one Mr. Denard Robinson. Remember him out of Michigan? And what did Denard Robinson have? Speed. Jerry Jeudy has got speed. And when you look at all the great players that played at the position, Julio Jones at Alabama, David Palmer, woo-wee, can I say Kevin Ridley? And then Amari Cooper, his skill set is on that same level. And this year in college football, he might be a guy. I know it's been the quarterbacks the last few years that's been winning the Heisman. He could put up numbers and be a Heisman Trophy winner at the University of Alabama. That concludes our list of the top 5 college wide receivers in 2019. Let's go back to the 5 list again. At number 5, Rodale Moore out of Purdue University. At number 4, my man C.D. Lamb out of Richmond, Texas, by way of Oklahoma. At number 3, I got to give love to the state of Tennessee. I'm from Memphis, the 901, but he's out of 865 Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Mr. T. Huggins. And number 2, out of Phoenix City, Alabama, my man Justin Ross, Clemson University. And at number 1, out of the University of Alabama, Jerry Jeudy, by way of Deer Beach Field, Florida, suburb of Miami. So thank you for watching our segment today. It's a youth movement segment here on 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video, please come in and share it. We almost got 2 weeks. What I can say, August the 24th, it's going to be Miami going against Florida. Woo-wee. Don't you like college football? I love it. Thank you. God bless. Final words, Mr. Bradley Mason Jr. You ain't got nothing to say?
Nothing to say.
Okay, you better get them grades right. I know that because your daddy going to be putting that belt on you. We about that life here at 100 Yards Football. Y'all have a blessed day.